Hey, good morning, friends. It's so good to be here with you guys. This is my last lesson on how to deliver our sermon. So I didn't record this in our last one because we were short on time. And so I just wanted to give the full kind of outline on some tips on how to deliver. Now, before we get into this, remember that preaching is not something that is primarily focused on how we deliver. It is primarily a spiritual exercise in which we speak the truth of God, right? Into people's hearts and lives. And so my last desire would for you to be worried when you're preaching about your feet or your hands or your tone, right? While you're preaching. Now that comes with comfortability as you grow over time. But my hope for this is to help communicate to you how we deliver a message is equally as important as what we're saying. Maybe not equally, but it has a huge impact on the hearers, right? How we present is going to determine how they hear the message. And so delivery is something we need to practice and grow in. So here are a couple of tips when we're doing that. Number one, your body and your stage presence. Your body is a tool when you're preaching. It is there to enhance you as you are preaching, as you are teaching. It is to helping communicate the point that you're getting across. And so what you do with your body matters, right? We've all known sitting in a sermon where someone might be nervous and they have some kind of distracting mannerisms they keep doing. And so I want to just encourage you, what is the point of your hands when you're preaching? How are you going to use them to convey something? Will you illustrate two realities by pointing different places? Will you point them in an endearing way or a confrontational way? How do you position your body? Similarly, what are you going to do with your feet? Are you going to keep them planted? Are you going to intentionally walk to different places in the room at different times to emphasize a different point? Think about all that. If your feet are shuffling back and forth and you find that that's a bad habit, tip is try to put your energy in your toes if you can. Your body, your hand movement, your feet, where you put your body on stage helps further a point that you're trying to make. And so I encourage you, be thoughtful about this. How are you going to step into the room? How are you going to deliver it? Can you practice that or think intentionally about it? A couple of tips there that I found super helpful was if you want to find bad mannerisms that you have, watch your sermon back at 2 or 3 times speed and watch. You'll keep doing the same motion over and over and over. And you go, okay, I got to maybe work on that next time I deliver. And that just helps the audience feel comfortable to deliver what you're trying to say well. Number 2, voice and tone. So our voice communicates and our tone communicates just as much as our body often, sometimes even more. So your voice and the way that you go about using your voice is a powerful toolkit in conveying what you're trying to get across to the audience. So remember, do you need if you have a question or a dramatic moment, you can use a pause, right? So allow silence to fill the room. Number 2, lower your voice if you need to bring a comforting word or something, right? So you kind of decrease your volume so the audience feels a shift. But if you're reaching some point of like a climactic moment in your sermon, then you can raise your voice for intensity so that the audience gets what you're saying. And notice good speakers, they almost have this cadence to them as they're preaching, as they're teaching. And so notice even when I fell into that, I was preaching at a cadence that helped people come to understand. So find your own cadence, use your tone, your voice, mess around with it. Finally is image, artwork, and room positioning or slides. So that's kind of like a clumping of a bunch of ideas. But I want to share with you, I think art is really, really important. Our Protestant tradition doesn't value it a ton for a couple reasons. But Eastern Orthodox, Catholic, some other high church Protestants, they really, really value art. And I think for a really important purpose. So think about when you walk into a Catholic cathedral, right? And notice how your body is lifted up towards God, right? It's open, it's vast. They actually do that intentionally. There's a whole theology behind how to shape buildings to worship God. And so I encourage you guys, while we're in our own tradition and we have to be faithful to that and steward that well, and there's a reason we have our convictions, don't despise artwork. Don't neglect artwork. Some of the simple ways you can bring color or art is on your slides. Often when I've got a passage, I will put the slide up, and on the corner or whatever, I'll have an image. And the listener probably doesn't pick up much on that, but subconsciously it affects people. Art has the way of reaching into someone's mind and their emotions at the same time. And so really see if you can use it, right? There's some really great modern thinkers who do that. Like Scott the Painter or other people who work with icons and imagery in a more of a contemporary sense. Like that, I want to encourage you making slides. Do that. Please make slides. Slides are helpful. As you grow in your ability to make slides well, I encourage you make them. Set the time aside to write slides, to follow along. It just really helps the listener. Along with that, an idea, if you have the ability, now you're not always going to have the ability, but think about the positioning of a room. So our room, the way you position a room is really important. So if you've got a big room but a small gathering, you want to find a way to consolidate the space so it feels intimate, impersonal, right? You don't want to spread them out, right? In the same way, if you have the ability, if your sermon seems that you can communicate something through the way that you position the audience, I'd really encourage you to do that. Find a way to position the room, change the seating, add tables, take away tables, open a space, put something in the middle, right? Just be creative. If that's a part of you, if you think that way, I want to encourage you, do it. It helps communicate the point. And so go for that. I really encourage you. A couple last points. When you are, these are just helpful tidbits. When you are doing your sermon, I always, when you're printing out your notes like this, write on top the number 1, 1, and then on the next page 2, 2 on both sides. I've been in the position where I've dropped my notes on stage. One of the first times I was preaching, dropped my notes. I didn't have them numbered, and I was in front of 1,000 people. And so it got awkward quick, right? So I really encourage you guys, write, and my mother-in-law puts them on both sides, right? So that it's super easy and accessible, really helpful. Also, if you need notes during your sermon, if you find that you've got bad mannerisms, write on your notes a reminder. I used to write on my notes, slow down, slow down, slow down, slow down. So I put it on every part, on every page, so that every time I flipped my page to my next sermon note, I used to remember, okay, take a breath, Grant. You're probably preaching too fast. And so that was super helpful, especially in my beginning years of preaching. I think that's a majority of it. The last thing I want to share with you is after your sermon, what do you do? And so this is kind of, we've talked a lot about the prep leading up, the need for prayer, all of that. But after your sermon, when you get done, I encourage you the day of rest, or the day after, and right after your sermon, rest. Brothers and sisters, preaching is an exhausting spiritual exercise. You will find that it drains you, especially if you're doing multiple gatherings. And there's a spiritual weight to this thing. And so I just really encourage you, value rest. If you can get home and nap. I'm not in a season where I can nap because I've got young kids, but I find a way to rest. I normally get to go play basketball, or I go for a walk, or I find something to just get my soul back. You might feel cloudy the next day. You have used a lot of energy. There's a lot of stress coming to preach. And so rest after. And be okay with that. Number 2, be aware of spiritual warfare. The day before your sermon, you might feel self-doubt or illness or insecurity or a ton of things from the enemy. That's totally normal. A lot of us experience this. And likewise, after you preach, you're often very vulnerable. You might feel like you did awful. You might be thinking about yourself. Here's a helpful practice that I've adopted into my life of faith. My wife Eden and I used to ask after when we got in the car, hey, how did that go? You know? And I really wanted to say, like, I really just wanted to hear, was I good enough or not, right? And over time, we just kind of decided that's a bad question. We ask when we get done, what did you hear God saying? What was he up to this Sunday? I don't really care about my performance. I've done what I've done. I've put it back in the hands of God. And so I don't critique or look back at my sermon. And I encourage you to do the same. Once you're done preaching, don't go back and watch it for a couple of days, because there's something about it. It's raw. It's you put your heart out there, you're vulnerable, and you're just susceptible to self-doubt, to the enemy's voice, that low moment a lot of ministers experience the next day on Monday. You just feel bad about yourself. You feel low energy. You feel sad. And so that's normal, and don't push it. Don't critique your sermon. Don't watch it back. Let it be in the hands of God. He did his work. Praise God for his faithfulness. We can give it to him, trusting that he's done his work. And then if you want to go back and review, which I think is a really great practice, I always do that Tuesday and on, okay? So I give myself a couple days, and then on Tuesday, if I want to go back and rewatch my sermon to critique it, I do that. It could be sometime in that week. I encourage you critique it with community, okay? So critiquing sermons is a dance, because like I said, you don't want to lose the heart posture of preaching. This isn't performative. This is a love and care for the soul. But like I said, we can grow by other people pointing it out, okay? So a trusted friend who loves you, a spiritual mentor who loves you, ask them to review your sermon. And this is what I do. So I send my friends my sermon. We've got a group of friends that review each other's sermons. This is what I do. I ask for 2 things I did really well that I need to keep doing. I ask for one thing, just one thing that I could improve upon, whether it's my hand, or even, not even improve upon, but they said you could have went this way, or you could have gone over and went down this way, right? It just helps you get your creative juices, like, oh, I could have went that way. Oh, that would have been a cool way to frame that. It just compounds your wisdom on how to approach, right? So 2 things I did well, one thing I could improve upon, and a final blessing. This is the most important one. What was God doing through me? So what did I do is good, but what was the Spirit blessing? Was there a word in this sermon? Was there something about my demeanor, my life, a theme on me that God wants to energize, right? And so that's really helpful, especially if you're younger and improving, but feedback is always good. So that's our preaching course on how to deliver and kind of what to do after. I want to thank you guys so much for putting in your time and energy to learn. Learning is one of the greatest gifts to our spiritual community. And I am so excited to see the ways that you bless our spiritual community, because you pour yourself out in this preaching process. I'm keen to see you grow, to develop in this strength, to bless us. I'm very keen for the themes that God's going to bring out of you and your temperament, your personality, the way you walk with him. I want to end you with a benediction, my friends. It comes from Ezekiel 37. This passage to me often summarizes the energizing work that God does in the hearts of people. It's in the place of prayer with God that Ezekiel encounters this vision where God seeks him out. And I often think of it as the role that preaching can play, not the only, but one of the main things it does in the role of a faith, in the life of faith. Hear the words from Ezekiel 37, 1 through 10. The hand of the Lord was on me, and he brought me out by the Spirit of the Lord and sent me in the middle of a valley. It was full of bones. He led me back and forth among them, and I saw a great many bones on the floor of the valley, bones that were very dry. He asked me, Son of man, can these bones live? I said, Sovereign Lord, you alone know. Then he said to me, Prophesy to these bones and say to them, dry bones, hear the word of the Lord. This is what the sovereign Lord says to these bones. I will make breath enter you. You will come to life. I will attach tendons to make you tendons to you and make flesh come upon you and cover you with skin. I will put breath in you and you will come to life. Then you will know that I am the Lord. So I prophesied as I was commanded. And as I was prophesying, there was a noise, a rattling sound, and the bones came together, bone to bone. I looked, and tendons and flesh appeared on them, and skin covered them, but there was no breath in them. Then he said to me, prophesy to the breath. Prophesy, Son of Man, and say, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Come, breathe from the four winds and breathe into these slain that they may live. So I prophesied as he commanded me, and breath entered them. They came to life, stood up on their feet, a vast army. As you prepare to proclaim the word of the Lord, I leave you with this blessing. May Ezekiel 37 be what you encounter as you preach. That dead bones are breathed life into as God uses you as a vessel to communicate his word. For the glory of God, for the growth of the church, for the good blessing to the world. May this be what you do. I'm very keen to see how you grow, how you develop, and what God does with this gift in you.